병원에서 거서 말아. 병원에서 거서 말아. 처음. 셔름하게 내야 돼. 살았다.
Venezuela lei più buttata con
Thus I have heard. At one time, the Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of Altar Creek Mountain with a great gathering of monks and a great assembly of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One was absorbed in the samadhi of the many aspects of phenomena called profound appearance. At the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, saw the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Then, through the power of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, how should a son of a lineage train who wishes to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom? Thus he spoke, and the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva answered the Venerable Shariputra with these words. Shariputra, those men and women of the lineage who wish to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom should look at it like this. The five skandhas should be seen purely in their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form also is not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, recognition, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are emptiness, and having no characteristics, they are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no recognition, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no phenomena. There is no quality of sight and so on until no quality of mind and no quality of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no exhaustion of ignorance, and so on up to no old age and death, and no exhaustion of old age and death. In the same way, there is no suffering, no origin, no ending, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, since there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide by means of the profound perfection of wisdom. And since their minds have no obscurations, they have no fear. Transcending falsity, they attain nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times have relied upon the perfection of wisdom and have become true and complete Buddhas of unsurpassable, perfect, and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the profound perfection of wisdom, the mantra of insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering should be known as truth, for it is not deceptive. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is proclaimed. Teata om gate gate paragate parasangate bodhi soha. Shariputra, this is how a bodhisattva mahasattva should train in the profound perfection of wisdom. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and said to the bodhisattva mahasattva noble Avalokiteshvara that he had spoken well. Well done, O son of a lineage, it is so. O son of a lineage, since it is just so, the profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will also rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Shariputra and noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva and the entire gathering, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, rejoiced and praised the words of the Blessed One. Lama Gampo
Jeze Jambe Yaman Jose Kage Lodre Dine Dena Neda Nanda Rasa Chene dungo jeje seche nije tuga lebanze. Simbe tere mare medo dunya jezewe. Rozo gula peche tate yana juju yangde so. Roda chedo nyemo nino leje jajo roze. Mare meze dunga nyugo, chene jete rajena, dene daje sajo dasu, yede luto jase tuyo. Jada jada june jede, dalu meze jabe yana idu. Arabadana Choshe medo rang ira nije nide jema sanje yindo mide brwaye doge nanda jena chebara yo tamba jena je juga gala chede chede cheda tabe duje zema daje chuje chaba wanto so rana medala kane yata yame chena daje chana janjo bano nane dage chuje jebe sona lola bejra sanje drobara Chena doje chona janjo prado dane jasoji dage chuje jibe sonamji lala bejra sanje drobara soje chona janjo prado dane jasoji dage chuje jibe sonamji lala bejra sanje drobara 다들이 주요가 상대 가시가 트레데 영도 다게 르당로 주당 스드나마 데레다 다게 르당로 주당 기와도 스피체바나 시제거나 타와나 대손 타바 페오 데바로테나 무슨 뜻이든 그러세 단데 마르도 담모 르당완도와 르똥와 르송와 르타바 르페와체 르그론파 제바탄 베크라이나야 yen tanya tang, sunwa jaya tang, taba jaya tang, pewa jaya she. Tena yegi longju kari ne, longju tangwa, longju sunwa, longju taba, longju pewa. Tena yegi geza tangwa, geza sunwa, geza taba, geza pewa wasne. Da zhizhil ma jana, wadu si jabure.
So we're on the fourth verse.
What was the page again? I'm sorry.
The verse fourth, the root verse of the training.
Yeah, but what
training
page? I'm sorry. Page number?
Wait a minute, okay.
Four, sorry.
Okay. It is what page is this? This is a Roman
Here we go, verses.
root verses, yeah, root verses for the training ontology.
Okay.
You like it?
Yeah, thank you.
Root verses. You look at the root verse. Root verse of the training ontology.
Says four verses.
Root verses of the training ontology. This is Roman numeral, so it's
Roman numeral 73.
We got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, on the fourth verse, the verse that reads, "Give away all sentient beings, your party, your positions, and your good gains in the past, present, and future, and protecting, purifying, and enhancing this." So now here it talks about how to engage in the practice of generosity, beginning from giving out one's body. Here it says, giving one's body, and protecting one's body, purifying one's body, and enhancing one's body. Those are the part of practice of generosity. And similarly, then it says, giving one's positions, protecting, purifying, and enhancing. And giving one's virtue that one has accumulated and past, present, and future, and protecting, purifying, and enhancing.
다들 담보도 대 류당 로조당 계속 손은 담보 류당한테 이제 다 류당한테 시험이 그래야 제가 진바실 타야게 무보도 나야 제 치유 무보다야 다 나기 무보다 왔네 된다기와 최고요래 나중에도 나 그래 시험되네 치유 줘봐 나기 줘봐 세트네 이거도 왔다나지 무보들이냐 나기 무보도 치유 무보스라고 그래 다단다무서 류당와서 레음비컬이야 아니 나비 무보데 레음고래 근데 나비 무보세다 간데지르서구나 소소기 시주기 젬비 무보들에 나비 무보스라고 그래 베나 소소라파레 강바레 테나시게 차레 다 나기 지바게 되는 거라서 어쩌서 무서 소소기 시주기 젬비 무보 차대로 왔는데 나비 무보성도 삼보 소소기 시주기 젬비 아니 르 용자마 류기 체시지라마 어떠서들이야 아니 쇼나에 타데지베 그래 나기 무보스네 어떤데야 그래
So now when it comes to the giving away of one's body, there are primarily two kinds. It is also known as the two kinds of giving the object, which is internal object and external object. The internal object here, internal object and external object, just as we find in the Pradhyayana practice, where there is internal offerings and external offerings. Similarly, we find when it comes to the practice of generosity, in accordance with the sutra system, there are internal and external objects that is to be given. And so what is meant by internal object? The giving internal object is referring to part of one's body, such as one's limb, organs, bloods, and so on. Those are said to be the internal object that is to be given, which is part of one's practice of generosity.
안바 진유비 카라야 담보 동생 배야데 문로레 동생 배 장네 아니 동생 공부해 보지 패서나 아니 류무에서 나양 거줘야 어떤데 송고여레 제가다 동생 배야 다 동생 배가 있는 류무에서 지야 있는다 다만다 지 류현 땅고야게 윤세 좋은거 가르치고 쇼나네 당하라서 짐바 땅와 있나요? 소소 르드 지 도야래 간다라 마지막도 소소 천도백깔에 르드야 도는 로고에 다고 문에 차대로 자상 제 소소 마지막은 이제래 짐바 있나요? 체야래 아니 이제래 소소 짐바 마땅와 있는 거 마땅네 르드 도야래 단다바도 모두 지와 몸보그러네야 이제는 짐바 땅 마다와지 ranjinzegi kwenyanade shebiji soso jiba zonyorite le tab dhanle giba tuwasanzo tor tsarawa, jiwa dhamma mbo len tsarawa. Seja daji mar jimanwa chuja me zongdu, an seja ka dhamgal tawa nada, soso jiwa kasa len sa te tsija na, an pe ji dhanga tema tongo zonu jirawa, jazang, tanda ka jiwa dhamma len lu mbo tor tsare, ina yang, te ika ka lu doya tsuli nyingbo kaya meba, rangye kaan ma meba, mendo shinto doon doya, tanda jang re, jazda, kanda tanda pada lu mbo doa tsare la, maa paya toba njuwa re, tanda yindu, ta soso lu doya changme re, teli ta lu doya de nyingbo yoban rochi. Ane, ji rangye kaanun pendo yoban rochi, yana rangye ninga le yachi, nipen yoban rochi, toro tuna, ane soso kepen jina gisi zini, ane jisa da ikene jima tayante, juze tanda ala teni, soso lu de nga jima ton togo yoba, tanda pada rangye zangwangi lu doya tsuwa de pemen rochi, ta mende shido, omen to toya. Tanda kata, tari soso ki ti karsa kore jiba ke liga de kaju dhubu jini juwa ji tangni, ta nguma na hi mayi soso ki shen le jimba tangi tani ji toro wayi na, ane rangi nipi tanda kutwani, ji sunang saya gita duya tanda kangu le zambo saya, le zambo tegi, ane dribu maangpa le soso lo ju yuwa tanda yindu, ta lu doya de doya yuwa chi, togu kudu sa tanda jigi ta junseng twani ni penche jimba tangi di yungu yore.
So prior to engaging in actual practice of generosity of giving away one's body, it is strongly emphasized to engage in the practice of giving away one's body by visualizations, not actually giving away one's body, but one should learn first of all to visualize giving away your body, your part of your body, such as limbs, organs, and so forth. That will prepare yourself to be, when it comes to a situation where you have to give up your bodies, the part of your bodies, you'll have no regrets, and you'll courageously be able to engage in practice of giving away one's part of body, such as limbs, organs, and so on and so forth. Because otherwise, without preparing oneself, engaging in actual practice of visualization or the practice of meditating on giving away one's body, and actual engagement of such practice of giving away one's body and limbs and organs will not be possible. So it is therefore the strong emphasis on, first of all, to prepare mentally. In order to prepare mentally to be able to give away one's bodies, limbs and organs and so forth, one must first engage in the practice of meditation so that this will prepare yourself that when it comes to the actual situation of giving away one's body and so forth, one can do so without any regrets and, or regrets and any sense of self-cherishing one's body and so forth. So therefore, it is important to, first of all, to prepare yourself by practicing meditating on it. So here now, when we actually engaging in the practice of giving away one's part of one's body, think about that later or sooner, one's body will be left behind because death is inevitable. When the death occurs, regardless of how much you cherish your body, how much we cherish our body, we are unable to take body along with us. This body that we have, the body that we have cherished so much, will be left behind. No one of us has the power to take this body along with us when the death occurs. So, because now think about the life that we had in the past, the numerous lives that we had in the past. and we cherish our body as we cherish right now. Nevertheless, we left all this body left behind, wasted this body without making good use of this body. So therefore, now at this point, by knowing and understanding importance of giving away one's body, practice, the meaningful practice of generosity, one will think about, I have taken a rebirth in the past so many times as equal as all sentient beings, because we talk about there's not even a single sentient being who has not been one's parents. So therefore, the body that we have taken, the various body that we have taken, or the rebirth that we have taken in the past is as equal as all sentient beings. So therefore, all those body that we have taken in the past have been wasted. We haven't been making a very good use of those body that we have taken in the past, the life rebirth that we have taken in the past. So therefore, now at this point, it is meaningful for me to be able to make good use of this body by engaging in the practice of generosity, of giving away one's body, limbs, bodies such as one's limbs, organs, bloods, and so on. So because later or sooner, I have no choice but to leave this body behind. So I must make this body, giving away to someone, making it useful and purposeful. So now we have to think of that, as we have come to an understanding of how important it is for us to engage in the practice of generosity. And such practice of generosity must begin from giving away one's body. As we mentioned earlier, from the beginning, preparing oneself mentally so that one can give away one's body to others without any regrets and remorse. So therefore, just think about, as I have this body, especially taken a rebirth as a human being, a precious human rebirth, and I will do so my level best to make this body meaningful and useful, because many times of the past life that I have wasted my body. So at this time, by understanding how meaningful and how important it is for me to make good use of this body, I must engage in the practice of generosity by giving away one's body.
다고 아무도 저당 누보 나니 치유무보 나무보 니 나니 나무보데 지마탄 카용 거래 대다 나무보 나이네 당도 차지마타야 교체베고 책임담을 요렇나니다 병고지마탄 소다 아장기 카탄 쓰고요 자네도 이내다고 단대 저선 나이네야 지금 문제마당에 들한도와 기마지마당은 뭐보도와 그러니까 이내 중간라고 소속의 가시샤네 소속을 메가노토스 공연을 지마다든가 땅에 단대이네 하면서 용되고 여러 와자다 대나게 전에 무슨 대나게 땅 투고 이내 들지 땅 투고 용하라 도모모리야 소속을 세네 장들 야고지 마트위나 근데 용고요 말이죠. 지마땅비 그래야 소속의 로나리아 제 동세 세단된 바치 방매도 다통에 제도 매비도네 근데 얘네 폐세 권이란데 대대지도 땅고 얼마든지 제 소선대반 매신도 라완 매신도 아니 이제 대리지마땅의 주망하지 라모요 나게다 로모요 나를 지내고 네고네라를 중모여서 대라기 군노유도 안 했다오이나 대 나비존이 시작이지만데 차고요 말이죠. 나게 군노 것도 아니 소소 강 땅 용무보다래 판세매 봐. 대땅이 주만 소소를 용거에서 레도매 봐. 되네지도 아니 땅 보고래 제가 되네지 동생 벽을 저도 너무 소소 동생 벽이 그래야 내 돈을 말씀이 이와서 배지 매래 제 땅자 공부를 이와 그 가만히 땅서 그 열이나 저 다니 밤에 이와 그 채고 고요 말에 소소는 도 로게 되니 배제 타공을 타지 마타야 깜바공을 깜바지 마타야 라바공을 라바지 마타야 다 근데 소소 제박을 려려야 공부 간단히 지 공에는 사망을 소소도 봐 아니 봐 되고요서 어떤지 동생 야야야야 땅 대양 뒤에 대양 소소를 륜들에 님보면 봐 공도 쉬어나시 나시 마토니 관도 르도야 이마 저는 뭐 쫓아고요 봐 대대리 뭐만 도와도 만들어 근데 배라진이가 배도요 비치기 엔등토니 또 스탄고요서 어떻게 그러는데 안 나오고요래
So out of this practice, the internal generosity, practice of generosity is the internal and external. The internal practice of generosity is far more difficult than engaging in the practice of external practice of generosity. So, however, now we see, and there are many individuals who are so courageous to give away their organs, such as kidneys, and even part of their bodies, another part of their organs, bone marrows, and bloods, and so on. And then also there are some individuals, when they are acknowledged, pretty soon they'll be dead. Before going through the process of their dying, process of death, they, will leave their wills that before he or she is passed away, and he or she is willing to donate their part of their organs and so forth. And those are very, very, good intention, and also, making a good use of one's body, and it's beneficial for oneself and that of others as well. So in order to engage in this practice of generosity, of giving away, engaging in internal practice of generosity, is first of all, as we mentioned earlier, to train one's mind is very important, because without training one's mind, even though one may give away one's, part of one's body and organs out of compassion at the moment, but then later you may have a regret, by thinking that I shouldn't have given away my bodies. I should have part of my body, such as organs and so forth, because now I'm undergoing suffering and so on. There is a chances that then whatever the practice of generosity that you may have engaged in, such as giving away one's body and so forth, will become meaningless. So therefore, it is very important, first of all, to train one's mind so that you're fully prepared, that you can engage in this practice of generosity, actual practice of internal generosity, internal practice of generosity without any regrets and remorse. This will then become an authentic practice of giving away one's body and so forth. So therefore, we need to have this thought of giving away, authentic thought of giving away, which is the fully prepared, mentally fully prepared to give away your bodies, part of your bodies and so forth. So therefore, one must first train one's mind. This training one's mind is something that's very, very important. So when one is able to do that, then when one is actually engaging in this practice, then one will do so without any hope for reciprocations or any kind of, because sometimes we may engage in such a practice of giving away one's body and so forth by, longing to have some name or fame, or someone may look at oneself as a hero, one's action as a heroic act and so forth. And if one has this kind of motivations, then it is not much benefit. It has not much benefit for us according to the Dharma. So therefore, in order to your practice of giving away internal, engaging in the internal practice of generosity must be free from all kind of thoughts, the conditional thoughts, in other words, and should have unconditional motivations of giving away one's, body, such as, leg, hands, other part of one's body, organs, and so forth. So therefore, if one is able to do that, then, such practice of generosity will become a great benefit. It will become a great beneficial for oneself and that of other sentient beings.
당무에서 밖에 소소 류 땅야게 대능고 유튜브 백가래야 지바체 또 루마다 루마 아도서 이와지 용구야래 동세 비비가래 생각해요 말해 아동세 공부슈 진보에 배서 그래는 문에 밖에 소소 류 제시들 비 땅야게 또 이발에 당무에서 똥유 백가래야 네 똥무루마 가게 주는 거래 배나 제 돼지고기 똥무루마 되시고 그래 돼지고기 똥무루마 소한테 가려고 그러나 소소를 제 류랑의 용어이나 아니 류의 땅이 기타 펜더 치원도에 류의 마다나 소소 펜더 치원 루트고도 도저히 제가 그래서 그래 소소 류로 뒤세요로 땅에 뒤세 렌다 말해 줘라래 저소 류랑의 주요이네 소소 류 제 땅에 되려는도 제 땅이나 펜더 치원도 담아도 땅에 펜더 치원도 마다나 펜더 치원도 도스 지네 아니 소소 류 땅나 펜더 치원도나 땅고야 땅 소소 류도 마다나 현재 자치부 루야 땅 초자치부 저도야게 차진도나 아니 제 류랑의 중앙이나야 소소게 그거 준세 치월 때네 그거 치월 준세 치월 때네 아니
So now here, when it comes to actual practice of giving over one's body, and it is also important to understand the appropriateness of one's time of giving over one's body. Here, think about when someone asks for one's body, and then one should think properly that is it more beneficial to give away my body, or at this time it is more beneficial for me to not giving one's body at this time. This is also again important to think about, which is called the appropriateness of time of giving of engaging in such practice of generosity. If one finds that without giving my body, my parts of one's body, limbs, organs, and so forth, it's more beneficial for my practice of Dharma at this point, then one should not engage in such practice of generosity. If one finds at the same time, that it is far more beneficial to giving away one's body to someone who needs it, then one should give so. So therefore, analyze carefully the appropriateness of time of such practice.
다양 long 병원이 제대로 왔다는 연구열에 소소리 짐발랑에 중앙이나 가게양 집하게 득 주가라고 된다 차도 당 제세다 된다고게 양 짐발랑에 연구를 소소하게 세제 도도 안에 집하게 자기가 자침보 두용비가 자침보사 취난다들 두용비가야 안 집하게 득 주가라고 된다게 토탕바지에서 그래 다 차던 데서 된다고게 아지발랑에 연구열에 제가 된다래야 아지발 르 땅으로 말해 그래서 대소되게 짐발라야데 크로스로 군거지 연이난 거예요 말해 차도던 데서 와게 파조도 취난다 주고 요송사 telea parchegene ane dosalango yu krozolo bungo yungi chago yu ma ta ka phajo de meba so ya chig ma to krozolo ngui ne su bungo yungi ke chago yu ma tene indi tenzolo ya ane jimaro tenzolo jima ina paro por ne ogreso krozolo ne ogreso kodo lenge ma sa no ro wa chaza kodo ngui ne bungo ke yu ma ina chado den de sa ma la yu ende so do le kodo jina phajo krozolo le bungo meba jela so so le thoran chi ende yo phajo 그런데 랑난 소리야. 아니 팬발에 내가 연구해 소자. 근데 나왕게 된다고 랑을이야. 아니 르 짐마로 말해서 도서요.
And also not only importance of analyzing the appropriateness of time of this practice, but also important to analyze that someone whom you are giving your part of your body. In other words, the beneficiaries. If you are giving away your body, part of your body, when someone comes and asks you part of your body, then again here it is important to understand that is that person really need my part of my body? Because historically, when someone is engaging in Dharma practice, and sincere Dharma practice, there are many other, negative sides or the negative-sided beings, in other words, will emanate into certain beings who are undergoing suffering of sickness and needing some part of one's body and approach you to ask for your part of your bodies and so forth. So, and when one has such understanding, acknowledgement, then one should not, it is not appropriate to give away one's body to such individual, because such individual is asking the part of one's body. It's not something that is needed for such individual. Their motivation is merely to obstruct your practice of Dharma. So when someone has such ill motivations out of jealousy, sense of competitiveness, and obstructing your practice of Dharma, the progression of the practice of your Dharma, then instead of giving away one's body to those beings, it is better to not to engage in such practice of generosity, because this will have no benefit for oneself, and also the person who is asking for one's body and so forth. Instead of having more beneficial, it will accumulate more negative karma for that individual, because the individual who is coming to who's approaching oneself, asking for part of one's body, are completely out of negative motivations.
다 예야 되네 제바게 르소 때문에 명이 뇌바산으로 왔다. 안에 야 이제 셈바 추대게 되는 연구로 와. 된다를 길러 있나야 되네요. 단주에 말해서 근데 대소 되게요. 지말라 연구가 제바게 그 뇌바산을 이제 셈바 추대는 소리 간주만 이제 되는 거였어. 안에 소소를 보고 이면 다들 맞아지. 자 내인도 저데 아니 소소가 서팀 메소타 아니 간도 간유만 유대 내가 온라인 망고 요소타 근데 저데 점으로 말해서 그래 저도 랑이 좋아해야 점으로 말해서 그래
So then also it's when someone who is mentally unstable may come and ask you for such, part of one's body and so forth, then also it is not appropriate to give away because he or she is mentally ill and mentally unstable. He or she is actually asking with no meaning into it, it's not thinking about the benefiting themselves or that of others, but just, it is just they're simply mentally not, stable condition. So they can ask you anything so that they can be aware of that.
자상고 제도가 나는 가게 되는 동안 소소리가 질리자 요바 리투에가 강의를 되는 된고세로 전에 레마로 전에 연락네 단다기 좋아 쳐도 제정도 단다를이야 아니 진주요 말해서 그걸 무인도 그걸 강의요 말 내가 제토를 내가 제사요래 얘네다 다와서 무슨으로 전에 라는 단도 어떻게 리타바 지마로 말해서 또 소요래
So when it comes to the giving away one's practice, by giving away one's part of one's body, is unlike the giving away one's external objects, such as one's position and so on and so forth. Because when it comes to such practice of giving away engaging in internal practice of generosity, there are many restrictions as well. So we have to be aware of that.
제가 모두 류등들 일하면 말하다 간주만주 지지하지 말해. 제가 내인도 단도 원래 그래. 제가 대송도 류송와서 그들 아니 신 제바제라 마송 봐도 류송와서 언제 삼보 단데 제가 공도 쇼나지게 땅으로 못 보셔래. 소소가 땅사가 진 제바와 단데지 마치지 봐도 간주만주 땅 유에 말해서 류다거든. 제가 소소 땅야게 류데 소소문이다. 기체유 차도에서 뭐 지금 땅비 가래 땅사 많어 맞지. 배자 침부지기 쳐도 그거 침부지기 쳐 땅으로 마도 온도 쇼나지게 니까 유마주 땅으로 말해서.
So therefore, the first streets, protecting one's body. Here you see. So it talks about what's meant by protecting one's body is to see appropriateness of time and appropriate to whom you're actually giving away, part of your bodies and so forth.
아야나 간다지 땅으로 해서 뭐 땅땅으로데 제 땅바 주대로 시고 땅바 주세요 부터는 시고 땅바 주로 시고야 땡 땅바 세야 돼 기침보래 다지마 땅비 걸에 땡 땅바서 간도 거나 안에 장주지 센지 센스비 저렇게 뭐 땅으로 해서 그래 장주도 센다 같은 거서 거래야 장주라는 로대제 예서 그래다 제메세 다시 되는 주세 걸 뭐로 와셔서 텐데 아니 장주지 세는 거지게 제즈비 니마이 땅고를 해서 그랬다 장주지 세지 제즈비 지마 땅고가 가르나 라니게 짐바 땅에 대 아니 탐지 침비 고방 토약을 줄을 놓았지 땅고를 뭐 치고 주고 거래 제가 탐지 침비 고방 토약을 줄을 놓아라 장주가 세지 들어다 째대 아니 기자대 탐지 침비 고방 줄을 놓으면 마도 아니 기자 이와 동타이 집에 고방 줄을 놓으면 이봐요 말 제가 소소게 류 시고 땅와 있는데 류 지역에 차시 땅와 있는데 강 땅에 거래야 근데 장주가 센지 들어다 째대 한도서 나고이나 근데 기자대 탐지 집에 고방 토약을 줄 놓고래서 또 송어야
So during previous teachings, previous discussions of practice of generosity, we talked about there are 6 ways in which we engage in this practice of generosity, which in Tibetan, which is called, term it is called Dhamma Dugden. Dhamma Dugden, which means the 6-fold supreme way of engaging in practice, 6-fold supreme way of engaging in practice of generosity. And out of this, the first is the supreme way of fundamental basis is the first. What is meant by supreme way of fundamental basis is that when engaging in practice of generosity must be done on the basis of maintaining the bodhicitta. In other words, maintaining the bodhicitta as the fundamental basis of supreme way of giving. Because without maintaining bodhicitta, if one engages in practice of generosity, and that although you accumulate merits, but that merits will not become a cause for enlightenment. So in order to become one's practice of generosity, cause of enlightenment, one's practice of generosity must be done on the basis of maintaining the bodhicitta motivations.
단이버들의 무보 당바 사야들의 무보 당바 사야들 짐바 당비 거래야 집이 나네 아니 초림이 가지고 그래서 그래 초림이 봤어야 돼야 아니 짐바 강 땅사게 여기 차니 초림이 봐 네 인텔리전기 메스네 초림이 가지고 그래서 그래 되나 얘기 강 지야 무보디네 등에 땅게 메스네 된다게 집에 잡이 오만게요. 여기서 처리해 봐. 어떻게 집 매매 돈은 담을 해서 그래.
So then, next is the second supreme way. It's called Mogodhamma in Tibetan, which means it's a fundamental approach. That is what is the fundamental approach here refers to when engaging in such practice of generosity, one should do so with any biased thoughts. I will give away to someone whom I like, or someone whom I dislike, and so forth. One should not have a biased, view with regard to someone who is actually giving away. And then also, the object that one possesses, whatever the object of generosity, the substance that you are actually giving away to someone, one should not actually again have any kind of, the choice. In other words, I will give this, I don't want to give this one, and so on and so forth. Whatever that person is actually asked, if one really wants to engage in such a practice, one should give away to that person without any second thought of, no, I'm not going to give away. I'm not going to give this to this person, and so on and so forth. But rather, one should give without. And then the more important part here is to have to abstain from biased thoughts with regard to person whom you're actually giving.
다들 이 체도 저 당바셔야 돼. 체도 저 당바셔야 돼. 체도 저 써야 돼. 다지마 강한 땅한테 안에 쓰게 담지 체도 당을 했어. 짐바 따야 다 구바도 주제 가면 당고요 말하죠. 그 짐바 따야 돼. 쓰게 담지 체도. 쓰게 담지 산지고 도야 그 체도 저거로다 쓰게 담지 체도 쓰고 대라지고 도네. 당고요 받아. 근데요. 제 밖에 쓰게 너무 담비 거래야. 이거 제도 콜 펜도 간다도 풀 펜도 간다도 뒤지 미쳤다고 해서 그래. 다 중나 단대 제도 콜에 펜도 여봐. 풀이네 콜 펜도 여봐. 단대지 중나는 다 니바로 당겨야지. 되네요. 단대 제도 콜이 시작이 펜도 맨에 풀이야 펜도 친구지 용도나 대양 안에 당을 해서 그래. 다 되네. 단대 제도 콜 펜도 여봐네 풀 콜을 내지 친구 용도나 당는 거 말이에요. 근데 단대 체리야 펜도면 풀이야 펜도면은 되네자 당줘야 말이에요. 도저히 거의 신유십이 나네 또 당고에 말해.
So then the third supreme way of practice of generosity is Chedajavadhamma, which means the fundamental beneficiary of one's practice. Beneficiary of one's practice. Here now, when one engages in the practice of generosity, must be aimed towards welfare of all sentient beings. It's not something that benefits. Motivation is to just to benefit oneself and only the person whom you are actually giving away things. Rather, one should have maintained a very pure motivations just by engaging in my generosity, giving away things to that individual. May this merits becomes a beneficial for myself and that of all other sentient beings. And this is, the part of motivation that one should have. And so then also, when you're actually giving away things, it is important to see that whatever that you are giving away to someone, if this is something that is beneficial for time, for temporarily, by giving away such object to that person, it may become harmful for that person. In the long run, if you know that, then one should refrain from giving. One should refrain from engaging in this practice of generosity. If one understands that although that's by giving away such object to this individual, it may become harmful for him or her for time being, but in the long run, it is beneficial, then you should do so. You should engage in the practice of generosity. But certainly, if one understands that by engaging in such practice of generosity or practice of giving to someone any kind of object that becomes harmful for temporarily and harmful for long run, then suddenly one should utterly refrain from engaging in such practice of generosity.
Tene tagi tamba sayade, tagi tamba sayade, nana jila warada, nanju koso mung bi je tab sagore. Chazan jimba tangsa go yu je, jimba tamba borani je, kaan jiya go zi je, ta sonja de mamu bi je tab sonja sambo, ta tomba nigi je tab sagore, ta tawa dandi nile yungdwa. Chazan rajuna nambar mutabi shi tse samba sagore. Number mutabi ishi zayade karna, toni ngonson tobi ishi ki zayzimbe, tendraga chwadan jete tanya tang. En tendragi toni ngonson tobi ishi ki zay mazawa inaya, kanda chudanji rangani matrubi tongwa tendraji ki tobi loji ki zayzimbe toni, en tosa jinguraya sokora chada, terya takiba sondu, tendraga te takanda kibaraya chada, koso mōngi jetani, ane jiyōngi karya, ane kāng jiyate tabi jōrōng rōyā chāyōngi rōwa. Chāsāng tōngi tabi lōgi tō tsēzimbi, ane kētā tsōde tabi jōrōyā rōtōgō tēnā kēne, ane takiba tāmbā sō tōsare.
So the fourth one, supremely, which is the fourth supremely, is Taukevadhamma in Tibetan. Taukevadhamma, which means the fundamental means or the method of engaging in practice of generosity. That's also known as the threefold object list, it is called. Threefold object list, which means not just to speak a little bit more about threefold object list. This means to not holding on to the concept of subject, object, and actions as a real existence or the true existence. In other words, this suggests that one's practice of generosity, the practitioner oneself and the substances or the objects, whatever the object that you're giving and to whom you're giving, all those threes must be, one should not have hold on to the concept of true existence of self and to whom you are giving an object that is to be given to the individuals. This entails this actually, you know, this emphasizes on how important it is for us to not to hold on to the true existence of self and the object that is to be given to others, and that the person whom you are giving and need to be given on the basis of understanding how all things are non-inherent existence, and with understanding of non-inherent existence or understanding of emptiness in other words. So, so here it is to, in other words, it is conjoining all one's, practices with the thought of purity of the threefold. The purity of threefolds referring to object, subject, and actions. All of this needs to be, we should not have any, one should not hold on to the concept of true existence of all the three things.
다들 줄이야 뭐 담아서야 돼. 뭐 담아서야 돼. 소소가 짐바 강타와이나 되게 게자데 뭐야래. 당모아들 뭐 용거를 제용으로 뭐 담아라 용거. 다가도 뭐 담아서야 돼. 소소가 게자데 라면 도장은 뭐야래. 라면 도장을 선보 라나 메바들 선보다 고나 메바서 거래. 고나 메바들 가르나 조비 장초 세월 조비 장초 세를 남비 주기잖아 산지 고만스 거다 조비 장초 세야데 제가 라면 조장은 뭐들 선보 라나 메베 아니 양다 조비 장초 토야기 아니 줄이야 뭐래 세월에 대한 시제 단계 제가 된데 뭐 세야데 말로도나 유 하나 줘야 나히라고 다고 라반에 지는 되는 거지래 제가 게자들 라면 조저 너무 하셔기나 아니 시제 단계 집에 상지 고모 토야기 지도 라면 조저 너무 이나 시제 단계 상마지 집어도 아니 게자데 저거야 말이야 다 제가 지금 컨트롤 된다기 조만 주지를 봐 용거래 맞아 저거야 말이야 제가 내일도 소소 게자 돌아마서 진짜네 조장을 양모야 되래 아는 뭐 담바세 되래.
So the fifth supremely is the fundamental dedication. The fundamental dedication. Dedicating one's practice, which is the fifth one. Which is to say that dedicating all one's virtue to the attainment of supreme state, or the attainment of unsurpassable state. The unsurpassable state here referring to the complete state of enlightenment. Now, which is also very, very important. Whenever we engage in the practice, spiritual practice, or whatever the practice of one may engage, it is very important to engage in the practice, dedicating. It is very important to not to forget dedicating one's merits, because without dedicating, one's merits will remain in a very vulnerable situation. But dedication is analogous to depositing your money in your bank account. So whenever you need, you can just take it out. Without dedicating your money in the bank account, depositing your money in the bank account, and if you carry your cash in your bank or in your pocket, it's in a vulnerable situation. You maybe get robbed by someone, it may be taken away by somebody, and so on and so forth. So similarly, one's practice must be dedicated towards, unsurpassable state of enlightenment.
타마들이야 넘버 더버 당바스 그래 넘버 더버 당바스야데 소다 본리야 타기바 당바든다 본리지래 지역에 드니라 뉴드다 시드기 아니 지역에 네볼 로 되지 되지 유학 담으래서 그러지 마 저때 뉴드다 시드기 네볼 로로서야 돼 단 뉴드다 시드기 문에 단 네볼한테 문에 있는데 돈도 비셔라들이 제가 다 간다 돈도 비셔라 계제심이 돈이 다 권을 쉬었다 지금 가는 당에는 돈도 비셔라 되게 근데 비지 또 줘다지래 단하지 돈이 소소 계산 지마탐에 계산다 아니 뉴드다 시리기 근데 밖에 내몰 제도야 되지 돈이 담으래서 또 손이서
So then the sixth supreme way is known as supreme way of fundamental purification. So what is meant by supreme way of purification is that your practice of generosity, in other words, should applying antidotal forces against two types, which is one's practice, which means that one's practice of generosity must be conjoined with the practice of understanding emptiness. That is what is meant by antidotal forces against two types of delusions, because actual antidotal forces against two types of delusions or defilements is no other than wisdom, realizing emptiness. Wisdom, realizing emptiness is the direct antidotes or remedy towards two types of delusions. So without applying antidotes towards two types of delusions or defilements, it is simply not possible, let alone to the state of enlightenment. Even the liberation is not possible. So therefore, one's practice of generosity should be imbued by the practice of meditating on emptiness.
What a joy.
So we take some questions now.
Last question.
So, just as a getting caught in the translation, the difference in the languages, okay? In translating Buddhism from Tibetan. So, the image of giving the ability to give away this way, without attachment, wouldn't that ultimately, if you truly understood it, it would be selfish, because that would be the best action? It wouldn't be a sacrifice, because you would be doing what is best, and so it would be most beneficial. So it wouldn't be a sacrifice. You see what I'm saying? Like everybody looks at it like, oh, I have to give away all this stuff. And mentally, that's the best thing you can do, so it's really selfish. Not selfish, but it's, you know what I mean? It kind of verges on, why wouldn't you do it if it was the best thing that you could do? But other people look at it as a hard thing to do, but it's not really hard because it's the best thing to do. So it's the best payback, mentally. I'm not making sense of that. Can you help me, Ken? Do you know?
Yeah.
What's the question? It's a statement or question?
Would I be true in that understanding? My question is, before, when you get really into the teaching, sometimes the English fails to translate what the Tibetan language actually is teaching. So I'm wondering if in this case, if when people are saying, oh, you know, you have this ability to give away your body, or you're mentally, it has to happen up here or in, you know, in here. So once you understood the benefit of that behavior, it's not a sacrifice anymore. It's the best thing to do.
Your question is this a correct interpretation?
Yeah, right. Is that a correct interpretation? Because it's not to me, it's not a sacrifice, it's the best thing to do. So, you know, it's like, you know, if you're gonna walk on hot concrete and you don't put shoes on, who's the stupid person? You know, so this is like putting shoes on for behavior. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm a little confused, yeah.
What?
I can't get the questions,
For
yeah.
me, I think like,
Wait,
lesson in
again,
life
it goes on
is
the-
that when you do
Goes
give,
on
you
the-
decide
on
to,
the-
you know, give freely,
Right.
do without gratification, no self-gratification.
Right. That's what I'm saying, it's because
I think he's got it.
what? Okay, sorry. Okay.
그거 재밌으면 하나 주소했나? 이제 다리 잡아서 쓰면
He's smiling way too much.
일주일 때인데 또도 근데 가서 교회 따다 가서 그때 있어요. 다시 수수원이 이제 봐줘야 편도 용도 상배나 수수야지 수수 그냥 따서만 왔을 거다. 이래서 그리고 편도 용도 상배나 와 케빈 컨디션에서 그냥 상상만 했으면 나가는 거 지금 선배나는 그 돼야지 봐줘야지 편도 연설 쓰면서 받으면 수수하게 케빈 따서 말아서 봐줘야지 또 편도 야구 용설 상배나 그 용서 말아서 되고 이제 지배냐면 남자 시험만으로서 선만으로 당연히 조금 다 혼자되게 지금 혼자하고 시험에도
그래,
대화를 때서 야구선에서 혼자하고 시험에도
그래.
코로나 선생
그래서 장주스 마와다 남주 대바라와 남주 대바인도 코로나 속에 진바 땅 rumata maru yin nang goyo de kare tene yongurna kono do jimba ta de yin nang go de so ge tenda ichedo yin nang goyo mare ta kanda so ge lü de pajo michile ya lang jil ta wa ina pajo michile ma to pendo mena me ba che 소소 류의 랑아들 마타마지 소소게 칼리 저기나 메자리아 페도 제도고도나 에너고 도세 첩체 종왕기 페도 자체 종왕기 자주스면서 페도 자체의 프로그램마도 페도 종주직 제도 침몰을 당한 말에 근데 이제 답변 지잖아요. 되는 것도 아니 자주스면서 짐바타한테 남주에 되면은 짐바타한테도 지역에 소소를 하자 나다 남주 배제 마다지 하자 나다 돈이 저 상부전 다 이제 대전에서 나가도
So practice of generosity, should be conjoined with conjoined with a perfect intellect. Just having motivation of giving or thinking this will benefit both that person giving away is not really a wise way of giving. Even though you might think that it is not sacrificing, sacrificing for me, I can give away, this is needed for someone. It's not a wise way of giving because Bodhisattvas always engage in a wise practice of generosity, what it says. When you are engaging in practice of generosity, if you think that giving away this object to that individual, one individual, a single individual, is beneficial for that single individual. For us, we may give away without thinking of that. But the Bodhisattvas, instead of giving away this to one individual, I must keep that. And it may become beneficial for 100 people. And there is a way of, giving away one's, engaging in practice of generosity by, intellectually understanding of how beneficial the vast benefits that may bring about what you're giving away. The pervasiveness of your practice of giving away. Sometimes when one engages in one single practice of generosity, it may help one individual, but it may not, have a beneficial for others. Otherwise, it should actually, help more people than one individual.
That was my question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a question about giving away one's body. And at the time that this was written, people weren't giving away their blood or their organs, or they weren't putting in their will that they were willing to give away their organs upon death or before death. And so I'm just wondering if this is a real practice. It doesn't feel like a real practice. If I were to practice giving away my arms and my legs, who would receive them? How would they use them? And especially in the time that this was written. And how would you remove your arm or your leg? Or are there people that do that?
Good.
So I'm thinking that this is just it's only a mental practice. I'm wondering if Geshe-la knows somebody who's given away their arms or their legs, and how are they used?
그렇지. 제가 먼저 미 마우치관의 머시관의 양수소 제 굴리다 차가서다 수수에 그서다 이제 공부 나게 공부하다가 나지 니가로 치발라서 되게 진짜다 되게 여러 봤어. 머시관의 머시관의 당시에 이거 다 제사배 제사니 우마지관의 테러리스트라 되게 여러 봤어. 되게 집에 있는 다들 저거에 나와서 찍대를 시작한 뭐 되니도 와 니네 아직 지금 양락이 되려면 지금 그래서 강원에서 오신 바다 나홀에서 오신 바다 강라 양락 되게 이제 중바다 그 뭐네 무엇이 중바다에서 개용으로 때 강원도 밤이 되게 개용으로 라고도 밤에 되게 미나발에 되게 베스케요 말았어. 되고 여행을 말았어. 다디고 메소 직수술 동성배야 지도로 강원진 돼야 다 라고진되면 마치 집대 강원진 파죠 팬더에서 되고 마세를 지웠다는 참. 근데 이제 연구를 했어. 강원도 라고도 봐 밀다면은 미수진 팬더 되게 안다바지 여러분. 됐어.
저 아무데
당국자님이 시간을
알로
지민형의 차.
다들 집에 나래 세대 차다 마찬가지야 돼. 남의 주기 시용줘서 뭐 조건을 단호래. 집에 걸어서 동생 걸어 집에 문에도 동생라래. 대에 그때도 소소하게 제가게 당번을 좋아하는 대내 레더메비 돈. 나게라 친구 작아서 산다고. nga jiwa shuma de jine sambo je lengre sa ngaran sa korda ngaran jiwa shuma de jiwa sambo je lengre sa ana nga kusho chung dogre sa ana bo ane ji nga kera yungre sa ana tenda ki ji soso ki che jibo ki che to tang tena tsende che to tenda ki kono ki zezini tangwa ina ne nambi chuni she dega jimba tsidin chago yuwa ma re nambi chuni she ondo jimba sa de zo tongse dere dea pangse meba njose meba chi 가시 쪼히도 파절해야지 펜비 상보 꾸니라데 어데레지 돈이 레도메바 데레지 돈이 땅요에 있는 데지미 나는 거니 차그래 데레지 메니 조코노 멤버들은 데르든 로이네 남이 주니게 되게 지면 남세디 차고 말해 지대로 Niba de Kana, Tamuzo Kamba Tang Labat, Yana Tang to Sambo, Kamba Tang and Jimiko Kamba, Jin Tango, Kakalia, Check Kamba and the Shakwan Tang, Namu Bet in the Tang, Kanton Tang, or Damin Tang, Ko Muzo Kamba Tony Pakatan, Meva, Tinani, Tinansen, Desi, Tinanium, Mose Jerabatan, Tang, work on that, so low with Nadia, Kamba Tang Lapa, Tang Tony, look, Niba, the nature you to go with that, and Madunu didn't Tang giving Pake Mara. Kiss language, you not to what you go with that. Kamba language, Moina.
계세다 뭐 저렇게 들어가다 강고 계산하면 좀 그러면은 강고 디펜더 거였어요. 맞죠?
다 봐줘야 될 것이, Kamba Nani, Shatana, one of the younger Kayi Majutine, Shatana, Jamu Yungudua, Tendale, Commodore Shakwani Techore, then I go so the Rukayu Rubaku with the door, Combat to the Rubatron, Rubat Combat Rubabani, Chogua, then I get in Kamba get in a Kadu Kang, Rubana Kang, the next Junanundua, the next other company with come to the pattern, Parable Techora.
So first of all, whether one's practice of giving away organs and so forth will become a generosity, practice of actual generosity or not, it entirely depends on motivation. There might be a possibility that some would like give away their part of their bodies, organs, kidneys and even hearts and so forth for their name, even if they pass away. My good name will be alive on this planet Earth. They might have this kind of motivations. In such case, this practice will not become a good generosity, practice of generosity. And there are, of course, with other individuals whose willingness of giving out their part of their, is completely to benefit others without having a hope for any reciprocations or names or fame, nothing, just to benefit. Not even thinking about, even if you think about giving away your parts of your body and so forth, just for a better rebirth in the future, will be also become a, obstruction for one's practice of generosity. You should not cling on to any benefit of yourself, just solely to help that individuals. By giving away my body, giving away my heart, and giving away my, kidneys and so forth, will really benefit that individual. This is the real practice of generosity will come. So then, when it comes to giving away one's limbs, such as, legs and hands, it is not necessarily that you have to cut and give it to someone. It's, as you have spoken earlier, that is true, there's nothing, it's not going to help others. But there are many who need it. There's some, part of the flesh of your body, such as, skins and bone marrows from your legs and so on and so forth. And this is all giving away part of your body, part of your leg as well. And if one really thinks that is so, as you have mentioned earlier, that now when this comes to the practice of generosity, the actual practitioner who have reached the level of engaging in actual practice of generosity will have a willingness of giving out anything that they own, even their own life. Just letting them take my life will become a beneficial for a vast number of people. I will do so. So this is mostly to prepare mentally, the mental preparation of giving away. Because if there's anything that makes you think, I may not be able to do it when it comes to practice generosity, then one is mentally not prepared and one's practice of generosity is not perfect. So one should train one's mind that when there's a situation If someone asks for my life, I should give away. And this is the kind of level of, courage that we need to have right from the beginning.
난데요로도 좀된데 대박은 나나 좀된데 안에 고쟁감이 지가래 땀을 주진단 말이야. 제가 땀을 아마 지래 다중아제 안에 다중수 총조제 아마데베 자야 마라제 zubochoboche 안에 아마데베 강본으로 실현이 되는 차 아마치는 보고서 담에 같은 저즈니 그런 걸 땀을 지 말아. 어떤 얘기 된다게 나타면 세제된데 TV 그래서 류용도 따야 거고 여러 다 강본을 거유시로
So bodhisattvas, not only just a part of their limbs, they even give their entire body to feed animals. If you look at the stories of the Buddha, when Buddha was on the level of bodhisattva, he gave away his body to feed the 6 tigers with the 5 cubs, because the 5 cubs are starving to death. The mom is not being able to find the food for them. And they came across with the Buddha, and Buddha knew that there's a danger of losing the life of 5 cubs, as well as mother. So therefore, he cut his own body and fed 5 cubs, as well as the mother. So this is the courage that we need to prepare ourselves, not only just cutting one's leg and giving away, but your entire body. Yes.
Would I noticed that these six ways of practice are obviously a Bodhicitta practice, but also are for subduing the self-cherishing, self-grasping, correct? And so the one that I was most aware of is the 3 spheres, or the threefold, as you called it. But I was wondering about the samayas from Ratnasambhava, the generosity where it emphasizes teaching as being the greatest good, and also that and that out of if you're a Vajrayana practitioner, that the 3 givings of practice, one's time and material offer, are prioritized as being practice being first.
Material objects.
If you're a Vajrayana practitioner, the offering of practice to your guru, or material offerings, or your time, there's an emphasis on giving your practices the priority of those 2 that are less significant.
So what's the question?
The question is the six
Sixfold.
the 6 ways
Yeah.
that are. There is no mention of these of the
Okay,
samayas.
okay, I got it. Okay.
There's no
Okay,
mention
I
of
got it.
yes.
Yes. Yes. That was clear. 들으시던데 진변념에 단의 것들 진변념에 되나리야. 담바 2개送了 담바 2개 되나리야. quando steve cabia, poi tendava anig muovava, e circa muovava, tapke tapdava sele mamushtundu ne dan steve cabia. Samaya ne tombenalia, ringe tombe, ringe chi tombe, soso tombe transformazione. 人间中间给 담세도 너무 싫어가 인중기 담세도 봐. 디나야 너무 매를 쏘고 싶었어. 근데 나야 거지 직사 전이 진보다 알아서 보다 되게 먹고 싶은 거에 근데 나야 디나 인중 중에 게 인중기 동바 담세도 동바 되게 되나 디어를 했어. 디어 말했어요. 어디서 진반을 타고 이제
다들 누가 너나 가는 거 진반 넘버 이제 시고요. 야 다들 너무 진바가 계셨다마도 진바가 나게 이와서 너무 인용지라. 맞아. 자세히 진바 추이 진바 미지 진바 장비 진바스. 나 그래 이제 시고. 나를 속을 소마다 시고요 말이야. 제가 다들 너무 지당하게 그러 진바가 나야 지시서 그래. 근데 그게 참아도 내 주의 진바래 내 자세히 진바래 세 시고요 말아. 이내 다들 너무 류지 진바 히베 그래 류대 주의 진바 말해. 좋아? 맞네 이제 대고 이와대 줄래 몰라.
So the practice of generosity we are talking about here is a general practice of generosity. We're not talking about a particular practice of generosity.
Okay.
We're not talking about the practice of generosity pertaining to the Samaya of Ratnasambhava. The four giving away, the four types of giving away, the practice of generosity with regard to Ratnasambhava. Ratnasambhava, yes. Because when it comes to the Ratnasambhava practice of giving is the giving away the material gift, right? And the practice of generosity of time and generosity of protecting from fear and generosity of love and so forth. So those are the four kinds of practice or the samaya regarding Ratnasambhava. So here in this particular practice that we're talking, in this particular context, there's nothing that we're talking about. It's not actually, yes.
Yeah, and so that would mean there's no mention of chill practice.
No, nothing. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and also Ishla mentioned that in the Lamrim, the guide, it's great deities on the stages of the path enlightenment talks about three kinds of giving, three types of giving, or the practice of generosity. It doesn't talk about the practice of four types of practice of generosity. Yeah. There are different ways and different divisions in a different context. So we will touch this later and teach this lesson. Particularly, he was willing to give teachings on the four kinds of giving.
We did the dictation, page 23 and 24, and then before we got 28 for the specifications.
Sanje yendo munde boai, rogo namda yana jukaro yanda lama ta lame jeje bela lo jeje, sadan lam je yude rado de, doje changi goba yudo jo. Rana mera lagane yadaya me. Rateji Nagatele Joju Jivana Rosa Tembe Drome Sansoji Drove Mese Tado de Juruji Kove Shikazu Pena Deva Molu Jurene Chiri Zuma Tinde Jazoji Jave Tade Mado de Juruji Cheda Jemada Kondo Zambo Deya Dejede Teda Kunji Jesu Daroji Gewa Deda Tamje Rado Mo Duson Jebe Gewa Tamje Mowa Kala Jodo Mabade dāgī gīvē sāvā nīgvē sāmbō chūchī rātū ngō vārā jī. Thank you.